Guys, please also finish to join fast because we'll be starting in 2 minutes. Aman, you can start.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Building Robust Mobile Applications with React Native. Today's session is organized by the FOSS community of NSPM alongside DevLab. So, first of all, let me warmly welcome our speaker for the evening, Mr. Yuthika Sagarage, who's a senior software engineer at SmashTabs, to today's session. Uh, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So, as the title of the session goes, everyone present here today will get to learn how to build robust mobile applications with React Native. I really hope that all of you will support our speaker to conduct this session quite interactively. So, without further ado, I cordially invite Mr. Yuthika Sagarage to conduct today's session. It's here to you, sir.
All right, thank you, Amanda. Can you guys all hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay. So I will start sharing my screen. Okay. So, yes. All right. So the today's topic will be building robust applications with React Native. So, like, can I get a poll here? Like, I want to know like how many of the participants are like familiar with React or React Native.
Yes, I will enable Paul.
Is it enabled yet?
Yes, give me a minute.
Hello. Hello.
Is it enabled now? I think.
Okay.
Can you
Okay.
guys put on the chat if you can see it?
Yeah.
Yes, right. Okay. Please for vote the poll. I think you have 1 minute.
Yeah.
Okay, so 47 people have voted already. Shall I end the poll or
Yeah.
should I?
Sure.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
it's
so I will be sharing slides.
yeah. Okay. So it seems like most of the people are new. So for those who are like familiar with React, uh, you might have some like so I'm going to share the architecture of React and how it actually works under the hood. So you might get a lot of like an insight on how it's working. So basically, so I work at Smash Steps on a React Native project currently. Uh, so uh, yeah. So let's start with what React Native is. So React Native is a cross-platform, uh, let's say, uh, uh, a library kind of a thing, a bridge. It's actually a bridge, a JavaScript bridge, or a message bus between Objective C or Java. So if you're using iPhones or Apple environment, it will be with Objective C, or else if you are working with Android, it will be Java. So it's not a web view. Like so, what's happening is like React Native is used to what is used is to build the mobile apps. I hope everybody knows that. So so why people are using React Native instead of Swift or instead of uh, and Java or Kotlin is to share the code with is that the possibility of share the code with with React or with like web or even for iOS and Android, it's the same code base. Only a little like the build procedure and some of the native modules will change will change. So most of the code base can be shared across multiple platforms like iOS and Android. So what it does is so React Native enables for you to write mobile applications using JavaScript. So if you are familiar with React, you know like React is a front end framework for web development. So front end. So basically, React Native is also using the same core technology. Like the framework relies on the React core as React, like the original React framework for web development. So there are rendering like it's basically threaded, like how it can communicates with the native mobile host is in a threaded process currently. Uh, the main use case for this is like cross-platform compatibility. As I told you before, the iOS and Android can share the same code base, and even you can get some parts for your web application also if it's needed. So I will go to the, so this is what basically React Native is. It's a cross-platform JavaScript runtime library which enables you to write mobile applications with JavaScript. So yeah. So can you see this website I'm sharing with you? Hello.
Yes, so we can see it.
Okay.
Yes, you can see.
So this is the official website for the React Native. It's on 0.64 now, and it has lots of like support from the community as well. If you go to their GitHub, there are massive downloads, and so basically you have the docs and how there are blog posts and stuff here, and how to set up a basic React app. And if you want to go deeper, you have all the docs here. So so the main core React native system is written by the Facebook. So it is like the so Facebook is backing the whole architecture side of it, and the React Native community is also contributing lots of stuff to the React Native ecosystem. So these are some of the apps. So so some of the apps you might already know is Facebook Marketplace, and Instagram, part of the Instagram, Discord, Uber Eats. I think a part of Uber Eats is in React Native, Skype, and there are lots of apps that is built on top of React Native. Oculus app for the Oculus VR goggles. Likewise, there are so many great apps that's being built on top of this thing, top of React Native. So, and also the like if you go for Stack Overflow service, I think the React Native is still top in the mobile cross-platform mobile development frameworks. Yeah. So you can go to this reactnative.dev site and look for any further details here. So I will, can you see the screen as well?
Yeah, we can see.
Okay. So I'll continue with my presentation here. Yeah. So as React, so the guys who know React, so it bundles the JavaScript code that we write. It gets transpiled and minified. So transpiled means like from various ES6, ES7, or ES anything like that. It transpiles to ES5, and it's also minified when the bundle is being compiled. So JavaScript bundle is compiled. So as I told you before, there are separate thread for UI layout and JavaScript in the React Native framework, like architecture. So so what happens is actually the mobile device does not understand JavaScript. So it understands, so for iOS, it understands Java natively, or Kotlin, I guess. And for iOS, it's Objective-C or Swift. So what happens here is, because like there are so many web developers and there are so many people who are familiar with React, the web framework. Uh, uh, this Facebook decided to like make a unified kind of a JavaScript enabled cross-platform framework for mobile as well. So how it works is like in when you write some JavaScript on your mobile, in your source code, it compiles and transpiled and minified and compiled, and those what do you call it? Instructions will be communicated through a bridge currently, as the current architecture of the React Native. So it enables a bridge to communicate with the host as in the mobile device, and the JavaScript side of it. Yeah. So okay. So I hope everybody can like understand something like this. So it's a small what do you call it? So take like this is how you write React Native stuff. So view is more or less the div in HTML. So if you can understand HTML, I think it's really easy to understand, or React. If you have worked with React, it's really easy to understand React Native. So so this is how we write the code in React Native. And what happens is like when we write this code, so this is very basic. So there's a style and a view and image and a text. So what happens is when you save and compile this, there's a bridge waiting for your code to be transpiled. So this is how it happens. So RCT means so this is the Objective-C implementation. So it's compiling the React Native code to Objective-C or Swift in some cases. Yeah. So this is where all the magic happens with the bridge. So you write something like this, and it goes through this bridge, and yeah. So you can see this is the bridge. So this is what happens after you write your HTML code, like the React Native code. Yeah. So this is what happens in the bridge. So it has like a there are the bridge is asynchronous. So it has, like I said before, it has 3 threads which is running parallelly, and so I'll go to the next slides and explain more about this. Okay, so React Native basically talks through the bridge via JSON. So JSON is a message passing. I hope everybody knows what JSON is. So if then what happens is when you write some like JSON like React Native code, it has a JavaScript thread, and there are native threads on the host machine. So the message passing happens with like when you compile and transpile JavaScript code, and the messages are passing with really basic JSON messages. So if you can see, so JSON, so here it says JavaScript to native. So this UI manager does the work for, like, when you make this like when you compile this JavaScript code, it goes to the UI manager. So UI manager is UI manager is in the host. So the bridge compiles everything to UI manager events, and it does all the node setting and setting up the stuff in the host side of things. And the bridge structure. So bridge, the current architecture's bridge is almost dependent on C and C++. So yeah. So, and it is enabled with JS Core, JavaScript runtime. Hello. Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. The JavaScript runtime is enabled with JavaScript engines, which are JS Core and V8. So JS Core is the main JavaScript engine which is running React Native. So JS Core is basically built for Apple. So when that's why sometimes the Android bundling and the Android might get a little performance hit because it's bundling JS code to like native Android and native Java, and it has like two steps basically. So the Chrome's V8 engine is also there for debugging. So React Native guys have implemented the V8 engine also only for debugging purposes. So as you all know, like if you work with JavaScript before, you have, I think you have worked like used the console log. So that is also a C++ function if you didn't know before. So that is residing in the V8 engine. So for debugging purposes, V8 engine also being included into the React Native. So some of the V8 engine, some parts of the V8 engine actually. Yeah. So as I told you before, there was a thread called UI Manager. So this is the main application thread on which your Android or iOS app is running. So the UI Manager is the only place you can access to your UI and where your UI can be changed. So this is the only thread that is like this is a part of React Native. So UI Manager of the RCT instance can only change your UI. So JavaScript thread is also another thread. So I told you before, like there are 3 threads. So JavaScript thread is the place where JavaScript code lies. So where it executes like arithmetic operations and stuff like that. So and your logic basically. So there's another operation, another thread called shadow node. So you can like call this thread anything. Usually most people refer to this as shadow node. So this is the background thread which calculates the layouts created by the React library. So if you know, like for the React framework, you have all the web-like interface, like right for you have CSS, you have CSS and CSS and other libraries, so you can get down to like you can lay out in CSS. So in a mobile phone, it doesn't know, because it doesn't know how to handle that uh, layout with CSS or JavaScript. So in order to like tell the host machine, like host phone, uh, where you need to lay out this stuff according to the JavaScript. Uh, that's why this shadow node and yoga exists. So so it's based on Flexbox. If you have heard of it, like when you use web development, you use Flexbox, Grid, and stuff like that. So this React Native library implements on top of Flexbox Flexbox CSS style. So it's a column flexbox instead of the row flexbox. So if it's defaulted to column flexbox. So yoga, there's a library called yoga as well. So it converts the flexbox based layouts to a layout system that native host can understand. So basically, those are the those two are running on a different thread. Yeah. So this is what happens when you press on app icon. So if you press on app icon, you go to the native manager. So then it loads the native side and the native module. So when I say native side, it means the host machines, like if you're using Android, Java code, and if you're using iOS, Swift, or Objective-C code. And so it like before starting the JavaScript compiling and other stuff, it loads the native side of things, like from the host machine. And then it goes to the JavaScript thread, which loads the JS bundle, that minified and transpiled JS bundle, and all the React library, their React library and logic is bundled with this JavaScript thread. So as you know, the bridge is there to communicate with the host machine. So it commands. So after the JS thread is running, it commands to the host machine to run the like create the UI. So when you ask the host machine to like create the UI, the shadow node builds the node tree to be with like there's a so if you have worked with basic HTML, it works like a tree kind of thing. Yeah, so it builds the nodes on the node tree, and then it goes to the yoga, which calculates the layouts using its library, and then it goes to the UI manager again, which shows the app on your device. So this is the current architecture. But the Facebook guys are on, so they were going to release a new architecture in 2020, but it is postponed, I think, because of the COVID scenario, because there's not much happened after on the architecture. But they are currently on the way to release a new architecture for this React Native. So this is the reality, current reality, how this React Native thing works. So basically, yeah. Then React versus React Native. So I think does anybody have like questions on how the architecture is designed and stuff like that? Hello, before going to this section. Hello. Can you
Hello.
hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's some kind of connection issue. I couldn't hear. Can you repeat that bit?
Yeah. Before going to the next section, it's better if anybody has a question on the architecture side of the React Native.
Yes, I think the chat box is enabled now. Everyone can type in the chat if you have any questions.
Yeah. From the silence, I think I think there's no questions on the architecture side. If there are any questions, you can ask later also. Yeah, so we'll continue to the next slide. So React versus React Native. So React is a framework which is used on web, and React Native is used on mobile, as I told you before. So there are differences in base components, styling, navigation, and like browser APIs. So in React Web, you have most of the HTML style code, uh, the components, div, image, and span, and like that. But in React Native, all the base components are customly built for React Native. So for example, for a div, you write it as right. It's not this one-to-one comparison, but it's more uh, more like div is a view and like that. So styling is different, navigation is different. So in web, you do the routing on so React router. So in here, you have a API called React Navigation. Uh, so there's no browser APIs, as I told before. Like there's no CSS animations because React Native is based on web, like on mobile host, and there are some polyfill functions like from the V8 engine, which is fetch, timers, console, and etc. Yeah. So yeah, so in styling, in web you have CSS styling, and in React Native you use JavaScript objects, and the object keys are based on CSS properties. And as I told you before, it's based on flexbox, defaults to the column. And here you have lengths that are unitless because of the pixel densities of the various devices. Like as in your Chrome, when you're developing a web application, you have pixels or ratios. So here you don't have any pixels. So you use unitless styles. So style, yeah, style. There are style props and various props, which properties which can be used for styling, and there are like mostly people use style sheet or scale sheets, which enables sending the IDs. So which these stuff optimizes the communication between the host machine and the JavaScript code when communicating with through the bridge on styling. Yeah. So for event handling, so in React, uh, every component can have one press event, and like event handlers can like it can have like every interaction in React web framework, but in React Native it's kind of limited. So if you want to touch, if you want a piece where you can touch, so it has to be either a button or touchable opacity or touchable highlight. And there's another API which is called Prest, which came in recently. Yeah, so those are the event handlers, and so I think it's better to like do a small live coding session if you. I think it might help you to understand like how the stuff is being written and what we can do with it in a little time. Yeah, so so this is what I'm going to build today for you guys. Like it's a small React app, React Native app. So we'll see like how it goes, like how we can install the library, and how we can start with React Native. Yeah. So so basically, you have to go here to start as a so it, like whether you are an amateur or a professional or anyone, I think it's better, like if there's any doubt, it's better to go for the docs, or if something you forget, like go to the docs. So docs will always help you. Yeah, so this is the environmental setup. So there's two CLIs, which is called Expo. That is not ideal for a real app. So this is for like practicing stuff from practicing stuff and stuff like that. So so I'm using Mac OS, and my target will be iOS simulator. You can, so if you have a Mac OS, you can install these brew install. There are a couple of things that you need to install before you start building React Native apps. So you have to install these stuff and do all the instructions are there. So so after all the instructions are being followed here, you can create a uh, app, React Native app. So so when you type this on your terminal, what happens is it builds a React Native app, like a default app. Yeah, so we'll start with that, I guess. So this takes some time to build, like I think like 5 minutes or 6 minutes. So I have already built one for you here, a starting project actually. Yeah. Can you see the Visual Studio code? Hello.
Yes, sir, we can see it.
Okay. Yeah. So when you run this npx create thing, uh, it this npx react native init awesome project, or this you can give anything. This is the name of your project. So I have a force to do project kind of thing. So this is the simulator that is running. So when you follow all the steps, this will come up uh, after building the metro. Yeah. So this is the code that is coming with the coming defaultly. Like, so if you can see from the top, it imports React library, and it imports types, and there are lots of stuff here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rip apart all the stuff here and start from like a start from beginning. So when you like save this thing, it automatically hot reloads the simulator. So this makes your life very much easier. Like if you want to like say just hello React, it will refresh and it will automatically hot reload the simulator. And if you are building this on so if you, some of the stuff that there are some of the functionalities that you can't check on the simulator, like camera functionality and some audio functionalities, and also some location functionalities. So for those, you can plug your iOS device. So if you're building iOS app, you need to have an iOS device. If you're testing a functionality that cannot be tested in simulator, uh, so you have your iOS device, and so it also has the same hot reload this functionality. Like if you save this save anything here, it will actually give you like it will hot reload the JavaScript code. Uh, so yeah, so this is removes most of the stuff here. Yeah, I think we're good now. So if you can see here, this this index.js is the place where all the root of this project. So this app registers the JS entry point to running all React Native apps. The root component should register themselves with the register component. So this is where you this is where you register everything. So it can be either index.js or anything, but this needs to be there, this line. So the app register.register component. So basically when you create React Native app, with npx create command line, everything is done for you, so you don't have to worry about that. So if you need some like configurations done, like advanced configurations, you always can do changes here. So if you can see, you have all the JavaScript node modules here. So these are bundled with the React library itself, and there's a Metro bundler as well. So this is what the Metro bundler's configuration file looks like. So Metro bundler is a bundler that compiles and transpiles the JavaScript code to send to the bridge. And it has all the iOS files and the Android files as well. So so if you want to like, so if let's say there are some missing functionality in your React Native app, which is already there in your, which is already can be done with Java or Objective-C, then what you can do is you can actually make native modules, like native C, like Objective-C or Android modules for those functionalities, and import that functionality to JavaScript. So that's a kind of advanced technique, but it's not that. It's pretty straightforward if you follow the docs. Yeah, so this is the entry point. So the index.js, and how do I? Okay, I think yeah. Uh, so we can write a small app uh, if if you guys are interested. Uh, so the thing is, I expected most guys are familiar with React. So I thought most of the guys are familiar with React, and so you need to follow a little bit more into like React Native docs, and you have to have some exposure with React Native to start building React Native apps. So I can what I can do is like I can make a small app for you guys, but the I don't know whether it's possible to like communicate everything in detail, because it's there are lots of stuff to cover uh, in the React Native framework. So yeah.
Yes, I think I will also share the docs and those links in the chat as well, so they can refer them as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
In the
That
meantime, if you have any questions, like anything regarding the session, you can just put in the chat.
Yeah, so that's what I thought. Like I thought most of the guys will be familiar with React. So if the guys are not familiar with React, it will be a bit hard to like understand what I have said before. Uh, yeah, so I think that's a part I didn't expected actually. Okay, and so like in web, you can use style sheets. Like I have said before, like this style sheet is a React Native component, like React Native thing that is coming with the default React Native uh, library, React style sheet object. So you have a create method here, and yeah, so we'll start with a small view. So you have a style prop in your style views. So you can call the styles by anything like this, styles.container. So you have to have a container like the same name here to import this style from this one. Yeah. So some reason. Uh, something like something like this. Yeah. So basically what it does is okay. So basically it does is it uh, does the like gives a color for the whole thing. When you say flex one, it means you have your whole screen to you. And so we can add, so in web development, in let's say you have browser like Chrome. So you have your default scroll, right? But in mobile, you don't have the default scroll. So what we usually do is like you have a functionality to enable a scroll view. So here you can enable scroll view to like make sure that the items are scrollable. Yeah, so we can also give a container style. And yeah, then we can start the view. So view is like a div in web development. So you can have a style for this as well. So you can have any name for this task wrapper also, like any name for this style. So I just put task wrapper here. And we can say something like like today's tasks. So you can see the like if you don't make a style, so it will show out of the window, like out of the window as well. So it's your responsibility to like make the correct styles. So we'll do some styles here. So if you can see here, there's no length units also. So this is what happens, like you have to make your styling like this. So we can have a style for this text as well. Yeah. So likewise, you can like do anything here, and like the hot reload works as expected. Like, and yeah. So I'm going to like make a small to do app here. Yeah. So to handle the data, you can keep a state here, like in React Native, you can keep a state. So what you do is like you have like use state and use state hooks. So yeah, and then we can go on to like map these task items. So I guess like if you are not familiar with JavaScript or React, this might be a little overwhelming because this might not be so as I told you before, like for the event handlers, you have on press events like in in web. Yeah. And you have the task component here. So we will make a task component in a little while. So if you can see here, these touchable opacity, this text view, scroll view, and all the stuff are coming from React Native library itself. So if we want to write a new component that is that can be reused, like this view, scroll view, and text items, you can always write something. So I'm going to write this task component here somewhere. So we can go out components and it's right task.js. Yeah. So this is a functional component. So I hope you guys can go to the docs and see what a functional component looks like and how it is. So I'm just going to so that is and there's some text which gets the props from we can yeah. So here also you can style this component. You have to import the style sheet actually. And yeah, so yeah, so you can give these styles uh, to these components here, like we did in the last one. Yeah, also you can give a style again. So likewise, you can give, so it needs a little bit uh, So I have a small task item. So what does this does is like here you can get a property from the place where we call this task component. So yeah. And yeah, for that I think that's enough. uh, then we'll go to our app again. So we have to import this one that we got. Components, task. Yeah. So here you have a complete task function. So let's add this function. Uh, so what it basically does is so we're gonna so this is the one that we are going to build. So what we does is like we type some stuff here and we add it. So it will add it like the whole way down there. And if you click one of these things, it will like delete from the app. Yeah, I hope everybody's like must be overwhelmed because I didn't expect like I expected some crowd with like React, some background with React. Uh, so so anyway, uh, yeah. So currently we have done this up until here. So we have mapped it. Uh, yeah. And I think that's it for the scroll view. Then we'll go for the like adding the text input thing. So because like when you are working with mobile apps, you have to make sure that your keyboard comes up here. So when you type something here, so your input box needs to stay on top of the keyboard. So what you need to do is like there are functions like keyboard avoiding views, which makes this life easier. So you can pass some properties here, like say behavior. So you can make sure that platform. Uh, so for different platforms, uh, it has like different functionality. And so let's add the text input. So let's style this thing first. Okay. So we have our styles. Then we need to make sure our functionality, and we also can make a placeholder, like placeholder text. And let's say please write the task, and let's say the value would be the task that we initialized. So that is our text input. So inside the text input, I think we have to add this plus button. So we have this small plus button here. Okay, so for this plus button, we have a handle task function. So for this one, you can get so what this does is like it gets the old tasks here and adds the new task to the task list, so which is managed here. Yeah, and we can save this task now. So we have to make sure that we zero out this task. So this is the delete behavior. So okay. So we get all the items here, like the task items. Task items, and so what it does is like you get this task item and copy it to this variable. Okay, so we have some. Okay, so we have to get the style sheet here. Okay. Okay, it's in the component task as well. style sheet. So this is wrong. Import. So it auto imported wrong task actually. So you can see here like the task thing that we have added, but you cannot see the plus icon because there's no background color or anything. So let's add those stuff. It might take some time, but let's add those stuff to make sure this is complete. Yeah, so let's add the style here. Yeah, it takes a lot of time to like to write the styles actually. So basically more than writing the logic of the code, uh, it takes some time to okay. So we can put it here actually. We'll put some color here. So yeah, so we have this thing here. So we have to make sure we have a width also. Let's see. Yeah. I think for now, I think that's enough for that one. Just to make sure that we have our add button. We'll just write snap. Let's get this thing. And for this text also, Let's put something here. Let's make sure we can see that. So right now we have, I think, almost everything here. We need to make sure that we can see this button. So you can see this, like we can write something here. Next. Hello.
Hello, yeah.
Hello.
Yeah,
Can you
we
hear?
can hear. Yeah,
Yeah. Can you hear me?
yes, we can hear.
Hello.
Yeah,
Hello,
we
so
can
we
hear.
can hear you well, pretty well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm like getting. Okay, so we have this ad wrapper as well. And let's make sure we can see this. Should be seen. At least. Okay. So we have this thing. So we have our text input and a button here. Okay. So we can add something React Native here. So it comes up here. So this is like, so it took do something like this, like you have to follow the docs. That's the thing. Like for React, to learn React, it's not like a 1 hour session, or it's not like you can master everything on like 30 minutes. So so to get onto the framework, I would say like go to the docs and follow the few initial documentation, and also like follow the let's say any there are like lots of content in YouTube as well right now. So from there are lots of YouTube channels that explain fundamentals of React and React Native. So I think if you want to like do some cross-platform applications like this, like you can add another thing here. So, and if you like click on one of these, it will delete actually. So, so this is like a basic, really basic app. But if you want to build more complex apps, also like Instagram is built on top of this framework. So you can do like many things here. This is just a small live session. I think so. Uh, sometimes I also like there are things like in like if you see here, your logic is only this part and this part. So the others you write it as like HTML, so which is like more familiar uh, kind of more familiar kind of a syntax for anyone who has done web development, I'd say. So yeah, so that's how we can build a small tiny React app. I think it's better like if all the participants had some understanding of React Native or React beforehand. So I would say like go to the docs, go to some there are several YouTube channels that explains concepts really well. And also if you want to like learn more, you always can like uh, go for an internship which does with to a company which does React Native stuff. uh, so in where I work also, we use React Native and React like that's like the most used framework these days. Like there is Flutter, which is built by Google, but that is a really new approach. But React Native has been there for like now 5-6 years, so it's stable and most companies use this. So if you do React Native in your like future, like if you want to be a web developer, I would say like for front end stuff, you have to learn React. You have to, so if you're doing mobile development natively, of course, then the Swift and Swift Objective C and Kotlin and Java is there. But most of the scenarios nowadays companies hire for React and React Native abilities. So it's better to like if you are looking for to get a job in the industry, this field is plenty, like there are plenty jobs, like people hire, even our company it still hires employees for React Native development and React development. So it's a pretty good path, I would say, to like learn this technology. uh, yeah. So if anyone has any questions here, so I could not explain some of this stuff because I was like limited to time. Like this use state scenario, like you can always go back and watch the today's session and try to understand what I have told. Yeah, I think that's about it, Nimesh. So if anyone has any questions, they can uh,
Yeah,
ask in
so
the
I
chat.
also have a question. So like you did mention about like other similar frameworks like Flutter.
Yeah,
So do you think like what do you think are like the similarities that both the frameworks
yeah.
share?
So Flutter is also good. It's not bad. It's really good. So it does have hot reloading and like React Native as well. But as it was developed by Google, so they are notoriously like popular for uh, giving up on projects. So it's better to wait until like Flutter is really stable to jump on that train before going to Flutter, I would say. And there are some major bugs in Flutter that is not being yet addressed. With React Native also, like you have bugs, but the community and the core developers are very much involved in the project. So basically, most of the stuff gets fixed. Uh, but like in few weeks if there is a major flow, but as per my knowledge there is no not there's no major flow yet in React Native in 0.64. So Flutter is also good to learn, but you have to learn Dart. So that's the thing. So it has its own language, which is combined with C++ and Java. Yeah, it's a mix of both, I would say. Uh, so you have to learn a separate language. You have to learn so you have to learn a separate language to in order to like get into Flutter train. But it's also a good platform to start because it's much easier to start, I guess. So if you are a new developer, but if you are going for like web development and full stack engineer position, I would say uh, if you have experience in web development with React, the React native is pretty easy to get onto. So I actually worked with React Native like from 4 years ago, but I didn't have that much knowledge those days. But so I was following React basically. So when I was given the project to React Native, the transition was really easy because all the stuff which is done in React can be translated to your mobile development knowledge as well.
So thanks so much. I think if you guys also have any other questions, you can have them on the chat or you can just unmute yourselves and ask them directly. I said.
Yeah, if you guys want, I can send these files like to a GitHub repo. But if it's not needed, I will. Yeah. So if anyone wants to like go through the code or like learn a little bit from this, so there's not much to learn here. But if you're new, there's lots to learn. So uh, I can put this on a GitHub repository and share it with you guys.
Yeah, I think that would be very much helpful because I think there are a lot of first years as well who are like trying to get into these technologies. So I think that will be really helpful.
I can post some uh, what do you call some links as well for YouTube channels that I have followed like last, I think, 3 years or 2 years back. So if anyone wants to like get to know more about like how to start this thing, because I know like most of the people cannot understand this like in the first go. Yeah, so you have to be dedicated to learn new technology. So that's the thing. So I'll share the GitHub repository with you, Nimesh.
Okay, thanks. I think if there are no any other questions, Amanda, I think you can continue.
Yeah, I was thinking there seems to be no questions, so I hope we can wrap up the session. So thank you very much, Mr. Yuthika, for taking a portion of time from your busy schedule and coming here today to conduct today's session. To be honest, it was very valuable, insightful, and educational for us. And I believe that everyone who stayed until the very end did learn a lot from it. And so, once again, thank you very much, sir. And so, as we are at the end of our session, I also would like to thank all the FOSN's VM volunteers who worked hard to bring you today's session and everybody else who joined us today and stayed till the very end. Thank you, guys. And till we meet again in the near future from another splendid session with another genius speaker, good night, everyone, and stay safe.